I don't know whoever said that in the chat, that Oilers Nation will not say anything negative about Darnell Nurse. I don't know where you've been for the last 2.5 seasons, I would say roughly. The first half of the season 3 seasons ago, I was yelling Nurse for Norris. That has not been the case for a very, very long time. Michael Menzies, thoughts on Darnell the Doctor in this game? He does finish with an apple. He's -3. Didn't have a shot.
Is that
2
all it
blocks.
was?
No hits. 3 giveaways. It was bad.
So here's the thing.
Is this Chris Knobloch talking, or is this
No.
Michael
This is just me because I don't know. My 2 options are I don't want to. Well, it wasn't Darnell's best night. We all could have been better, and I'm sure he's going to do that later.
No, Darnell could have been better. Tristan Jarry could have been better.
Yeah, we all could have been better and supported our team. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the thing with Nurse is the Oilers have to find a way that Nurse impacts the game less. And part of the whole, and this, not to revisionist, I wrote it at the time in my column about the whole Jarry Kulak trade, was just that Kulak got crucified for 12 to 15 bad games. But that there was no path to necessarily replacement if this team was going to play big games, like they did in last year's playoffs. Kulak often, I think it was 10 to 12 times in the playoff games, played as many minutes as Nurse, if not more. And only 2 games did Wallman play more minutes than Kulak. And my point being, look, Kulak may be struggling. He may not be that good anymore. You may need to move on, whatever. But you don't have a recourse. You have given Wallman an extension that dictates he has to be a second pair defenseman. And he was a third pair defenseman in the Stanley Cup final. Darnell Nurse has been the, player with, brief moments, has been able to obviously cash in on what his contract is, but there are glaring holes, and his game doesn't seem to change, whoever it was behind the bench. And yes, he's had ups, but he has so many downs, and they have to find a way to limit his minutes to make Nurse a third pair and get in a defenseman that can log tough minutes. But now, the guy that you're sheltering is paid the second most on the D-Corps, is paid more than 90% of the defensemen in the National Hockey League, and you have to wonder about, well, what do we do here about the Nurse minutes? How do we take them down? This is the bind. They were able to get away with it, and Nurse was able to have stretches where he was okay during the last 2 years and make the Stanley Cup final. But Tabernacle, I mean, come on. You gotta... He has to be a contributor in a positive way, because it's not like he's getting paid like Ty Emberson or Spencer Stastny or Alec Regula. He's getting paid as an elite defenseman.
$9.25 million.
And obviously, we can't argue the contract's long since signed, whatever. But we can't come back here and look at some of these errors and be like, come on, man.
And the point I want to make is that Darnell Nurse is not getting any younger. He's, I believe, now 31 years old. He's a 1995er just like me, so I feel dirty as I say this. But it does kind of feel like, with the Brett Kulak thing, yes, he was not up to Brett Kulak's standard earlier on in this season. Now, I would argue, you look me in the eyes and you tell me that you didn't believe, if we got into Game 1 of the NHL playoffs, that you wouldn't believe that Brett Kulak would give you serviceable minutes, or exactly what you discussed, the ability to play up in the lineup and spell out a guy, insulate a guy who gets paid $9.25 million, because it does feel like we just keep banging our heads against the wall and being like, oh, Darnell Nurse will just... We know it's in there. We've seen it in spurts from time to time. The end of the day, for much of this season, you could argue Darnell Nurse has been the worst, second worst, third worst defenseman, bottom half of the Oilers D-Corps. And now you're sitting here. I like Spencer Stastny. I like the player. I know he's not ready for second pairing minutes. And I just feel like we're sitting here with a another hole in the Edmonton Oilers roster, not even touching on the goaltending, where that was straight ass this evening. It's a tough spot for the Edmonton Oilers, and I also feel like an absolute fucking idiot sitting here right now and being like, we're having the same discussion we've had for years and will continue to have for years, because the Oilers are stuck between a rock and a hard place here with Darnell Nurse. 9.25, full no move clause. Plenty of time left. What is
Look,
it?
and I don't want to bring it up
years?
because it's just like we understand it's been beat ad nauseum with like the Nurse contract, but it's like you're a veteran. There's a lot of inexperience on this D-corps. Even there's a lot of guys you have to at least lead the way, and no defenseman is going to go consistently without goals against while they're in the ice. But some of these mistakes are. They're not one-off mistakes. They're the same types of mistakes. Look, Bouchard gets crucified because Bouchard will be aloof on the ice and make a soft play occasionally, but ultimately, I believe he makes more positive plays happen than negative plays. He can dictate the game with the puck on his stick, and that's what makes him worth the money.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
You know,
you're at least
like,
benefiting from those things.
You know, whereas...
What am I benefiting from Darnell again?
Whereas, well, it's just like...
He kicks ass. He does kick ass.
Yeah, you know, the one time a year he fights, man, does he fight well. But, you know, it's just... Anyways, we understand.
Yeah, we all know what it is at this point, and this is a conversation I think we've had for the entirety since I've hosted Pregame with Bordsy and Oilers Nation After Dark, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you enjoyed today's episode of Oilers Nation Every Day, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube to not miss any of our content. We got you covered from interviews, insight, analysis, everything you need to stay up to date on everything around the team. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video.